We tried to warn them. They didn't listen.
Yeah!
Every week, the Hoffman Show goes into the belly of the beast.
We read those comments, baby.
Never read the comments.
All right, if you're new, this is how it works. We post stuff on YouTube. You comment on it. If your comment is worthy of, not even say if your comment is worthy, because we can't get to all of them. There's literally hundreds upon hundreds of comments this week on a variety of videos. But if we think they're particularly thought-provoking, we'll read them here on the show. That's how this works. The places that you can find our YouTube comments that we peruse through for this segment include my page, at Craig Hoffman. That is where most of them come from. But also at the Team 980, where we post on-demand content from this show. So if you miss a part of the show, the best of it always goes on the YouTube page. All right, so that's how it works. Let's get to the comments. And the comments, I mentioned there's a lot of them. And actually, Anthony, I'm going to double-check real quick. On the 1st and 10 this week, which was titled Sam Howell was the biggest factor in the Commanders' loss, there are currently 163 comments on that video alone. Yeah. There's another 96 comments on our Instant Reaction Take Command podcast. There's dozens of others on other videos. So there was a lot. And so what I tried to do is, instead of going through by video, I tried to kind of lump them into categories in terms of the responses to Sam Howell, the offensive line, EB, all this kind of stuff. And first, there was kind of the general reaction comments, is what I would call them. Like our guy, William Bont Rager, who has no affiliation, no relation to the company that makes cycling shoes. We discovered that in a previous edition of Never Read the Comments. He goes sarcastically, "How dare you question Wolf Jesus or insinuate he isn't perfect? Ree!" The cognitive dissonance of people that convinced themselves that Howell was our franchise savior rather than a potentially great work in progress who will need time to grow is palpable in the comments. And I knew when I said, like, hey, Sam wasn't very good on Sunday, that there was going to be a backlash. And I didn't do it. I think it's important to say, like, I didn't do it because there'd be a backlash. Like, that's hot takey. I'm not doing stuff to get a reaction. I just said what I saw, and I am smart enough and pay enough attention to know that, like, that is true. William presented it, and I certainly presented William's comment in a dramatic reading, more dramatic fashion. How would you think of my dramatic reading, Anthony?
I thought it was pretty good.
Thanks. I mean, my acting skills are not zero, but I'm no actor. Point being, like, I can't not give you the analysis because it is going to cause people to be angry on the internet. And the reality is, like, Sam wasn't very good, and that doesn't mean that he's done forever, but, like, he's not above criticism. He's not beyond reproach. He is young, and there are certain expectations and I think factors that contribute that other people take the blame for. At the end of the day, he can't just do nothing. He's an NFL quarterback. So he's got to get some of the blame. We got to criticize or be critical of his play, good or bad. And this week it happened to be bad. And that's why I like this comment from Jamel, at Jamel Payne 1313. At the end of the day, we're living in a microwave world where people want instant results. The world don't work that way. It's been 7 weeks. And that's an important reminder too, is like, hey, Sam's going to have bad games. He's a young player at a very difficult position with way too much on his plate. And I say way too much on his plate. I don't remember if this comes up later in the comments, so I'm just going to say it now. But, like, he both has too much on his plate, but also they've taken a lot off of his plate. Like, he doesn't have a lot of freedom at the line of scrimmage to do a million things. They're not using a ton of motion. Like, they've stripped down this offense to try to make it easier for Sam to be a master of a few things. The problem is they're then asking him to take there's limited number of tools and use them like crazy because he's throwing 75% almost of the time. He's throwing at a higher rate than anyone else in the league. So it is kind of a weird thing where, like, in Minnesota, Kirk has a ton of things he can do with the line of scrimmage, a ton of adjustments he can make. He's been in that offense a bunch of years now. And he knew, I mean, it's a similar offense to what he ran here in a lot of respects. So, like, he's got a mastery that when Kevin O'Connell asked Cousins to throw it 70% of the time, Kirk is kind of equipped to do that. He has the tools. Sam's like, I got a hammer. I got a screwdriver. And this problem might need an Allen wrench. And the answers aren't always there. So I think that is something to keep in mind is like there are limitations on him that are reflective of him. And then there's also a lot being asked of him all at the same time. So there's kind of those general thoughts was one category of comment. Then you had comments like this from Jimmy at Jimmy NR4KR. The number one reason for their performance against the Giants was play calling. Everybody knew Wink was going to blitz. The team was not prepared for it. EB failed to prepare. He put the young quarterback in a knowing situation. And I would categorize this kind of comment as a comment that I hate. Here's why I hate this comment. Eric Bieniemy didn't prepare or fail to prepare. He failed to prepare an optimal plan. Something that was readily apparent as he changed it, not fast enough, but did change it in the second half. He enhanced different parts of the plan than he had initially planned on emphasizing. They prepared a plan. They ran more max protect on Sunday than they have in any game this season. They ran a lot of quick game. Tried to get the ball out of Sam's hands quickly, whether it was true quick game or longer developing concepts that had a quick game element, and Sam with the anticipation that Sam would just take the quick thing. Sam didn't. He missed throws. He missed reads. The timing's a little bit off, and there's no chance for yards after catch. Obviously, the offensive line, even for quick game, couldn't protect because they lost so quickly on some of these plays. And sometimes it's the sack. Sometimes it's like a pressure. There's a quick game to John Bates that should have been an easy 5-yard gain and probably a first down, if not a bigger gain, because he would have had space to run. And Bates runs the route a little bit slowly, doesn't turn around fast enough. Sam doesn't get the ball out quite as fast as he should. And Charles Leno doesn't squeeze the protection in the way that he should, probably based off what everyone else does. And because of that, all three things lead to an incompletion. That's not on EB. Like, the players have to execute. And this is something that I think that seems to get lost amongst some folks. I don't know. Like, I think everyone knows this, but like, maybe we need to be reminded. There is no perfect play call that is execution proof. There is no play you can call that works with bad execution. The players have to execute something. And just because the plan wasn't optimal doesn't mean it was terrible or that there wasn't a plan in the first place. It's like there was one comment we got. It's like, EB has no protection plans. It's like, no, they call a protection on every single play. Whether it's the right protection, whether it's the best protection you could have had, those are different stories. And maybe that's what you're trying to say, but if you're going to do that, then say that. Don't say the silly thing that actually isn't remotely true and is kind of insulting to a professional who spends his entire life preparing for these games, probably at the expense of, seeing his family and such. Like, we can do this in a way that's both intelligent and respectful, is all I would say. It's something that I strive to do on the show, and something that I'm not afraid to call out if I think it's silly in the comments. So yeah, like, it wasn't optimal, and they should have moved the pocket more. They've got to find things that get Sam comfortable early in games, but to EB's credit, previously that had been quick game. Sam has been pretty efficient in that department this year, to the point that a lot of us were saying, hey, where is it earlier in games? More quick game. They called it. They didn't execute it. Sam didn't. The O-line didn't. The receivers didn't. And so if that's the case, what's EB supposed to do? Eventually you change it, obviously, but you don't want to change it too fast. I know I'm rambling a little bit at this point, but like, you don't want to also abandon it. You spend all week thinking this is the best plan. You don't want to abandon it if you could just execute a little bit better and get it working. Because it's there, it's open. Just this block, this throw, this whatever. So there's that. The next bucket of comments here on Never Read the Comments, the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Is the Anthony, I'm going to call this the I have solutions bucket. People who think that they can fix the offense in the comment section. You know these are my favorite, right?
I'm already knowing.
Yeah. Let's see how they are. By the way, this one comes from someone whose handle is @suityourself, which I think is pretty funny. It's @SOOT yourself. Suit yourself. Which is kind of like...
He almost pooted on himself.
You couldn't wait to play that one.
Actually, that wasn't pre-planned.
Oh.
I just thought of it in the moment.
He almost pooted on himself.
That's JD McKissick, everybody, if you're new to the show. He said that into our microphones last training camp about Antonio Gibson. Go back and find it. It's a good time. Anyway, @SuitYourself says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Enough with the gun runs already. It's unbelievable to think that EB, as a former running back, has nothing more to offer in the run game. So I am with you that I prefer running the football from under center. But you, @SuitYourself, and I, Craig Hoffman, I'm not playing quarterback for the Washington Commanders. And unfortunately, it's not as simple as just saying, no more gun runs, we're running everything from under center. Because you can't have it be a dead giveaway that every time you're under center, you're running the football. You have to be able to pass from under center. And Sam Howell doesn't really like to drop back and pass from under center. Sam is much more comfortable sitting back in the shotgun and getting a clearer picture. And I get it. Like, if I was a quarterback, I mean, even just like if you play pickup football, like, you probably would rather sit back and like get an extra couple of yards worth of vision, width of vision, depth of vision, versus being under center and everything's kind of right there. You have to drop back and you're moving as you're trying to create the picture. Like, drop back passing is really hard. And there's a reason why, you know, even for years before everything was from gun, like, oh, third down passing situation, quarterback's back in the gun. Like, there's a reason for that. And as teams have become more pass happy on first and second down, it's like, okay, well, if we want to keep defenses off balance, what can we do both from? We can do both from the gun better than we can do both from under center, because we're basically useless passing from under center. Not basically useless. That's too strong. We're less effective passing from under center than we are less effective running from the gun. And so what it really is going to take is Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson especially, because I think Chris Rodriguez has been pretty good, is being a little bit more patient and understanding that when you're in the gun, the timing of the runs are a little bit different. They've got to get that right, and they can be more effective in the run game. Also, you need better vision. But can you get Sam to be more efficient as a passer from under center so that you can run more stuff? Because, you know, you also got to block it. Like, they ran one play action from under center on Sunday to try to keep the Giants honest, and they blew the protection, and Sam got murdered as soon as he turned around. So it's not as simple as saying, like, hey, just run the ball from under center. These gun runs stink. Like, I don't disagree that gun runs are worse, and it has to do with your angles, your timing. There's a bunch of stuff that, you know, we could get into on a detail level of why gun runs are probably inferior to runs under center for a running back and an offensive line in terms of the angles it sets up blocking-wise. But the reality is, worse than that is being predictable, and being predictable is a no-go in the NFL. So it's not as simple as saying just run under center, sadly. At Lyle Paradise 2764 has another solution. I would like to see the offense come out and hurry up, no huddle offense right out the gate. It may just reduce some of the predictability that we've been showing and also reduce the amount of sacks that we give up. You don't have to do it every series, but it will make the defense wonder what's coming next with very little time to think about it. Make the defense play defense. Oh, the defenses are playing defense against this Commanders offense. That is part of the problem. I don't hate the idea of occasionally getting in some tempo. And I do think it's one thing you can do to slow down a pass rush a little bit, because blitzes have to be called. And if you get to the line of scrimmage quickly, then often you can, put defenses in simpler coverage structures because they're more concerned about communicating, hey, let's make sure we get a call in and get lined up versus, okay, let's get the perfect call in. Let's call this blitz. Let's call this thing. So are there situations where you could go hurry up? Yes, but I would also be super hesitant to do that because one of the ways where the defense has gotten in trouble this year is if they're on the field too much. And it's not so much on the field in number of plays, but it's like how quickly do those plays happen? And if you're not clicking on offense and you go hurry up, all you do is go 3 and out faster, which is less rest time for the defense and a bad formula that will lead to you losing football games. There's a reason teams don't do it. So is there probably a time and place for the Commanders to mix in a little bit tempo? Whether it's a muddle huddle, whether it's kind of a no huddle that's not fast, or like a, hey, let's get it and let's put our foot down and go. Yeah, there's probably some place for that, but it comes with a pretty risky downside that is going to mean that place is a very small little tiny box that you're not going to tap into very often. That's kind of the solutions bucket. Then you had, I thought, some really good, interesting stuff on kind of bigger picture comments. And these two comments kind of go together. At, let's see, Spiros Nichols, 3253. Spiros person, I hope I said that right. Sometimes, Anthony, you just get the names and numbers and everything, and because there's a username that gets mushed together, it's hard to tell where one word stops and the next one starts. Maybe it's Spy Ron Nichols.
Yeah, I could see where you're getting at.
What's your best guess on this one?
Spiros Nichols.
Yeah. That's like my email. The start of my email is C Hoffman, and then I have some numbers and, add an internet service provider. But I often, it's so funny because I'll, sir, what's your email? It's like C Hoffman. Okay, I've got Choffman. And you're like, it's Craig Hoffman.
C.
Hoffman.
It's real simple.
Yeah, we got is it Choffman?
Spiros?
Sure. Anyway, the point is, a quarterback with 7 games of experience deserves to have a competent offensive line. In the ever-evolving playmaker, often quarterback now, center league, there's a timeless constant, and that constant is competent offensive line play. The very bedrock that characterized the successful 2 decades of this franchise has been neglected by this staff and previous staffs. This is not uncommon in today's NFL, however, but it is unfortunate and even reckless with for a team with a promising QB. Again, I would say in most circumstances, like this offensive line is competent, but they're not good, nevertheless excellent, which brings us to Taylor Strickland's comment, Taylor Strickland 415. Earlier in the week, we had talked about Drew Brees and like how did Drew succeed being the height that Sam is, where some of the height stuff seems to be bothering Sam a little bit. And he makes a great point. Or maybe Taylor, could be either way. Drew Brees also had all-pro Pro Bowl guards and tackles the majority of his time with the Saints. From 2006 to 2020, Brees' tenure, the Saints had 11 different guards and tackles make the Pro Bowl, most in which made the Pro Bowl all-pro 23 years combined. Sam is playing with a line that might have 1 or 2 starting caliber linemen. Again, I wouldn't go that far, but it is worth pointing out that like even the guys that I think are like good caliber, like Sam Cosmi, for instance, Sam probably is going to continue to develop into a pretty good right guard. It's his first year playing right guard. Sadiq, inexperienced. And Nick Gates, not that good, not that experienced. Leno's been pretty solid at left tackle. His pass win rates, his run block rates, like all that stuff's super high. He's one of the best guys if you look at the analytics in the whole league. He's got a lot of penalties though, so there's that. And then Wiley has been kind of exactly the very average in terms of percentage, percent wins that you would have expected from Andrew Wiley. He's there's so many dropbacks that the total numbers of pressures and sacks given up that Wiley has are some of the highest in the league. But again, he's got more snaps in protection than anybody in football. So I think this is like combining into a good point that it's not that this O-line is incompetent or terrible or the worst in the league, but if you're going to have a quarterback that has these specific deficiencies, he's not very big, so you need a little bit more space for him to operate in. He doesn't move well in the pocket, and he holds the ball really long. You needed to have as elite of an offensive line as possible to maximize the other excellent capabilities and characteristics that Sam Howell has, because he does have a lot of really special talent. And that is being masked and hidden and diminished by the fact that the offensive line play isn't as good as it could have been if you had really invested heavily in this position over the course of years. And as a result, you're not getting the best out of this. Offensive line looks worse than it is, and the quarterback looks worse than it is. Where if you had just taken some time to bulk up and beef up this offensive line, you'd be getting the best. Obviously, you'd be getting better line play, but you'd also be getting the best out of Sam Howell. All right, last but not least, Anthony, we had some pretty good comments of the week this week. One is just a funny comment on its own, and the other was an exchange I had with someone. At Rio Grande 1964 says, this was actually on the interview that we did with Michael Phillips, said, "We're trying to build something here," quote unquote, said the captain of a sinking ship. I think that's directed at Ron Rivera. That's just me.
Definitely is.
Yeah. And then there was this. T-Ferg581 says, this was about 1st and 10. "It shows me why Craig has no idea what he's talking about." To which I responded, this is one of my new favorite snarky responses. "I'm sorry, who are you?" And then T-Ferg says, "Someone with an opinion that doesn't think you know what you're talking about." And I responded to that. So he thinks he's a guy with an opinion who doesn't think I know what I'm talking about. And I said, "Wow, we're the Spider-Man meme." Because I think he's a guy with an opinion who doesn't know what he's talking about. To which T. Ferg responded, "Well, I don't agree with you, but I do think what you just said was funny."
That is a comment of the week. I think that's funnier than the
sinking ship.
We're trying to build something.
Yeah. A little humanity, a little humor can go a long way. We don't have to agree on everything, but if we can at least see each other as people on this here dark part of the internet, the comments section, then it's a little bit more fun for everybody. That's Never Read the Comments. Leave yours at Craig Hoffman on YouTube, at the Team 980 as well. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you're watching this later on demand, like the video as well so other people can find it.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.